Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as GG decided to change approach to farming and to loot in 3.27, one thing is still pretty stable and constant: boss farming. So in this video, I wanted to try and farm one of the cheapest and easiest bosses in the game, King in the Mist. That boss been pretty profitable in 3.26 because there been a lot of demand for stuff that boss dropping. But is it profitable in 3.27? For that, I decided to kill 200 kings in the mist and calculate all the loot and all expenses that I had. Let's go, and I will be able to explain how profitable it is, and is it profitable at all. So first off, let's talk about the boss itself and what the boss can drop. So for the boss, we have a chance to drop Untouched Soul, Pragmatism, Burden of Shadow, Light of Minion, and Random Corpses. So out of all those items, only Light of Minion currently have a pretty nice price. You can sell it unidentified for about 260 chaoses, which is very nice, or you can identify it with the most expensive one being Chaos Resistances going up to 14 divines, so it could be pretty profitable at the moment. But it's a gamba, so for that test I will focus on just selling those jewels unidentified. According to Wiki, the chance to drop it is about 20%. It's been like that in 3.25. However, based on my own results, I believe it's pretty close but not exactly the same, and I'm going to cover it a little later in this video when I'm going to talk about loot. And another interesting part that the boss is dropping random corpses. Some of those corpses could be very expensive, such as Perfect Forest Tiger can cost up to 17 divines at some moment, depending on the economy. Or for example, Guardian Turtle could cost up to 2 divines, or even 3, depending on the market. There's a lot of just bad corpses that cost absolutely nothing, and imperfect and normal corpses usually not very popular as well. Another big upside of Audience with the King is the price. You can get an entrance for approximately 35-36 chaoses. That's been the price at the moment when I've been running the King. So it's very cheap, and that way you can start farming that boss almost at no investment. And it's also pretty easy to buy because you can just get it from currency exchange, and that way you can buy as many Audience with the King as you want. I recommend to buy for a lower price, so just creating your own buying orders for like 35, or based on the price right now, even 34 could be an option. And another upside is time. So King in the Mist is a very fast boss. You can kill the boss with all shenanigans for about 1 minute of time. It could be even less, about 40 seconds, if you're going to utilize some particular techniques to just dodge the maze. So to dodge the maze, you can just log out of the game and log back in exactly at the moment when he's like teleporting you, or you can also teleport to your party member standing in your hideout, just rejoining the fight almost immediately. If you're going to follow such tactics, I think you can manage kills about 40 seconds or a minute depending on your build and depending on how fast you can sort the items. So to kill 200 bosses, you will need only 200 minutes, which is a little longer than 3 hours, so like 3 hours and a half, including sorting and preparing to sell the items, which is very fast compared to a lot of other bosses which has stages or longer fights in general. So to be precise, with the current prices, I paid 7,200 chaoses for 200 runs, so about 36 per each. And since one divine is about 116 chaoses at the moment, that's about 62 divines exactly, paid for 200 entrances, which is not too expensive but not too cheap either. And now let's start talking about the loot. So in 200 runs, I got only one very expensive corpse. It's Perfect Guardian Turtle, which at the moment should cost about 250 chaoses, which is pretty nice and like about a little more than 2 divines. However, not a single Perfect Tiger dropped, and outside of just the turtle, I think I dropped about 10 corpses that cost about 3-4 chaoses on average, so I'm just going to add the sum of all of them about 40 chaoses to my calculations, but out of the expensive ones, only that turtle dropped and nothing else, which is in my opinion kinda disappointing in 200 runs. However, just aiming for the tiger could still be an option, especially if you're going to do like 1000 runs, 500 or even more. Now let's talk about the main loot, jewels. So in 200 runs, I drop about 32 jewels, and I think the amount and like the way how those jewels drop has been very unusual. Sometimes I had like a very dry strike, so about 30 bosses without jewels at all. And right after it, I could have like 3, 4, 5 jewels almost in a row. So I believe it's pretty random right now, and if you're going to try and farm that boss yourself, keep in mind that you will need to do a lot of runs for your drop to like even out. And 32 jewels and 200 runs is a little less than 20%, but I believe that maybe I just got unlucky, and that's like the main reason why I dropped less, or the current chance is a little less as well. It could be like 17-18%, and I think it's much closer to my experience at the moment than just rough 20. Also keeping dry strikes in mind, I believe the boss could be profitable only on the long runs, at least around like 100. And talking about the chaoses and the whole economy of that, Light of Minion unidentified at the moment is about 260 chaoses, which is kinda nice. So all those jewels, like 32 of them, is going to give me 8,300 chaoses, together with 250 for the perfect Guardian Turtle. And considering that I spent 7,200 for all the entrances, I'm going to finish up with 1,350 chaoses after about 3 hours of farming, which is not too horrible, but definitely not too profitable either. With the current divine prices, it will be about 11 divines in general, or about 4 divines per hour just running that boss. I believe that you would be a little more lucky, especially with perfect corpses. You could make more currency doing that. But the situation with jewel drops is very random, and you could get unlucky and make even less. So I believe the boss still can bring pretty stable 2 to like 5 divines per hour, depending on that luck and the amount of bosses that you're going to kill, which is not bad considering it's very easy to buy and the boss itself is pretty fast. And as another option, you can also identify all the jewels. It's like a pretty decent gamble at the moment, because I believe a lot of jewels have a pretty decent prices, so it could literally multiply your investment, or you're going to lose more currency. That's completely up to you if you decide to do that, and I'm probably just going to sell the jewels unidentified at the moment to finish up that experiment. So was it worth it? It heavily depends on how you currently perceive the game and if you like to do bossing. I believe if you want to do that, you can safely run some King in the Mist, but make sure that you're running long strikes, because I believe in a very short ones, like 20 or 30 runs, you can just go dry or even lose currency. However, the boss is not really looking like a very stable investment of time, because I believe there are better alternatives at the moment, which I'm probably going to explore later on. Let me know in the comments which is your favorite boss to farm too. Maybe I will try it later. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.